Blizzard might have accidentally exposed the entire Midnight roadmap. That's right, guys. We know dates, and I talked about some dates earlier. I mean, I said basically we can lay out the seasonal content and when it's going to happen now. June 16th seems to be the date that we're going to get 12.0.7. And then based on how everything lays out, it looks like Season 2 could be kicking off. I think it was December we were saying. You got basically 8 weeks of patch content. And the way it's been so consistent, you can really figure out when each date is going to lay out. So I don't know if that's what he's doing here, but let's check this one out from Dalaran. The entire content cycle may have been leaked here from Dalaran Game. Let's check this one out.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and it seems like Blizzard might have accidentally leaked the entire roadmap of release content for Midnight as an expansion, potentially at least. But it all comes down to really a sudden calendar swap over on the recent PTR build, which now became a release candidate for the upcoming patch 12.07. The new dates for Turbulent Timeways in particular were initially locked in, but then later they just suddenly shifted, which actually locks in a more aggressive content cadence for this expansion that we've seen before. With many players theorizing this is looking like an 8-week content cycle for Midnight.
What happened with this? Remember this? Labyrinths? They're supposed to be like these mega delves that take you like a week to do, and they've got different wings, and you progress through them in your lockout saves and all. When are we getting this? What happened? I thought we were supposed to have these by now. I mean, maybe this is a Season 2 thing or something, but I felt like this was a really cool thing that a lot of people were excited about. 9.1.5. What? Yeah, Greg has been waiting. Yeah, exactly. All the single-player Gregs out there have been waiting for this. Greg from accounting going to be labyrinthing all night, trying to avoid his abusive wife. What the heck? Where is this thing?
Throughout the entire expansion, which actually caused a domino effect to fall, with us essentially more or less knowing exactly the release timeline of every single major update of this expansion, all the way down to patch 12.7, likely the final update before the last time.
This was supposed to be a new game mode. I remember that. What? Damn, I forgot about some of this stuff. He's reminding me of this shit. This was supposed to be like some kind of game mode. A lot of people were trying to guess it could be like an Among Us style game or something. But we didn't get any of it. You know, the whole was it hide and seek decor game that we've been playing? I did feel like that might be a way for Blizzard to kind of test out some systems for this new game mode that we were supposed to get. But where the hell is this too? We haven't even gotten this yet.
The final expansion for the World Soul Saga, essentially being all exposed.
This could be a Halloween timing, though, like in October. Yeah, September, October. This definitely has like a Halloween haunted theme to it, so this could be something that comes out then.
For everybody to see. Today I want to break down exactly the math as well as the shifting of calendar and why it's so important. Give us an idea of when patch 12.7, likely Season 2 as well as Season 3 content, when all those major minor updates are going to be releasing, and essentially take a closer look at what you can expect out of the content cycle for Midnight as long as the conveyor belt of content doesn't break at some point midway through. With that being said, as always, if you guys do want to see more regular updates for Midnight as an expansion, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. So the recent build over on the PTR for 12.07, while it did get some minor changes, it also did become a release candidate build, which means that when a patch does that, that means usually there's going to be like minor additions, hopefully plenty of bug fixes, so this thing does not come out as rough as patch 12.05 did, but there's going to be not that many more changes until this.
Hostitute says, is this a pre-watch or a rewatch? This is a pre-watch of my rewatch, which I watched just after the post watch. So that's what's going on here.
Thing is releasing, and when it becomes a release candidate, it means like it's like a number of weeks away until it's actually live. Now, PTR also did do a bunch of reshuffling for the calendar, especially in a month of June specifically. And those dates, I think, is what really gives us an idea of when this patch is coming out. Previously, we kind of could tell when this patch was going to be arriving based on the start date and the end date of Turbulent Timeways, which started out, I believe, on sometime in June, and then
it was originally June 16th, and then they delayed it by 2 weeks, pushing it back to June 30th. But the thing that we know is also happening is the Midsummer Fire Festival, we know is part of 12.0.7 with all those updates that are coming for that event. So this thing they're not going to drop the patch on a Saturday or something. So what's the Tuesday before that? It's June 16th. That's what this whole timeline's been laid out for us based on this calendar.
And all the way until like end of August, which was kind of a long window. But Turbulent Timeways usually coincides with the final patch before seasonal content, and it ends usually as seasonal content begins. They've actually shifted that window and shortened the Turbulent Timeways, how long it's going to be lasting. And based on some of the different events that are part of this patch, we have more or less an idea of when this thing is coming out. Besides Turbulent Timeways, which is releasing right now on 30th, there's also other events that are going to be part of this patch 1207. One of them being Darkspear Dash, which has a new tablet replaced kind of log for participating, but also Midsummer Fire Festival. If they want to be able to have this patch released with those events in mind, they would have to have this patch come out before or on the same day as those events, which leads us to believe that June 16th is likely going to be the release date.
Not pre-watched. I deduced this already. I have evidence of this. I freaking said this shit what, 2 days ago now? So nobody accused me of that shit right now. I want to hear
this update 2 weeks before Turbulent Timeways, in fact, but it does at least allow us to experience Midsummer Fire Festival, Darkspear Dash mini holiday, as well as Turbulent Timeways during that window, because towards the end of the week, that's when we'll see the Midsummer Fire Festival starting. So patch 1207 likely is going to be releasing over around June 16th.
Yeah,
however,
June 16th.
There's also other interesting information that we could glean from this actual calendar update, because Turbulent Timeways has gotten shortened by quite a decent bit. Previous version of Turbulent Timeways looked like it was going to last like 10 weeks or so.
Right.
This one got shortened down to 6, so 4 weeks have been cut off. But
right, you got basically 6 weeks of Turbulent Timeways. Patches typically last 8 weeks, which means, hey, and this thing has been delayed by 2 weeks. So you got 2 weeks of the patch, then 6 weeks of Turbulent Timeways. Let's do the math together, class. Come on now. How many weeks is that? That's 8 weeks. That's how long the patch lasts. So that means when Turbulent Timeways ends, the patch ends, and we kick off Season 2.
So 4 weeks have been cut off. But the Turbulent Timeways mount, which, I mean, with 10 weeks, getting 5 weeks of the, to get the mastery buff wasn't going to be a big issue. But now when you're reducing it down to 6, they actually reduce the requirement for spawn of Veranoth mount as well, down to just 4 weeks.
So
you just need to get the mastery buff 4 out of the 6 weeks during the event. So not only they shorten the event, but making the reward a little bit easier and more manageable for players to obtain. But with the shorter Turbulent Timeways, that does also mean a number of things, like shorter time for you to get your ults prepared in order to get a bunch of catch-up gear before a Season 2 content.
Wait, Tidewell's throwing shade, but that's also a good point. Yes, that would be your deadline for AOTC. I didn't even think about that, because technically the next season would start with the next patch. Sometimes there's that like week-long delay when the next patch goes out or something, but yeah, you're right. That is the time you'd probably have to get AOTC by.
But also they shortened as to when the actual patch releases over on the calendar. And the new end date right now for Turbulent Timeways, previously was way at the end of August, is now actually going to be on August 11th. And with that, Turbulent Timeways usually ends as the new seasonal content begins.
That's right.
So now we likely have an idea of when patch 12.1 Season 2 content is likely going to be releasing, which is a little bit earlier than the original calendar. This also gives us a bit of an idea as to what the content schedule for this expansion may look like, because now we have a little bit of a trend to consider, specifically for the expansion of Midnight.
Yeah, you can just play it out.
History over the past expansions, Blizzard was kind of all over the place when it comes to when cycles and content is released. We've definitely had some weird gaps, like a year content drought from Mist Up and Daria at the very end. Imagine sitting around playing the same expansion, same raid, same patch, same content for a year. It was rough at the time. Warlords General and Shadowlands were definitely also really weird, because there were 2 expansions that got cut short so fast for a number of reasons. And usually Blizzard hasn't really had too much consistency when it comes to their patch updates, but they've tried it before, and it looks like the Midnight, or rather World Soul Saga, is really trying to solidify a specific pipeline. The last expansion that really had a very high extreme amount of consistency was Legion, with a 77-day experiment cycle.
Yeah, and this is not a surprise. Ian Hazzikostas himself has said in interviews that they want to be on a regular patch cadence. They want this stuff to be predictable. They want players to be able to plan their life around patch releases and stuff like that. So it's a bit, I guess, what's it called? A bit crazy of WoW to believe that our life cycle basically runs around patch cycles. Maybe it does. Degenerate's going to degen. But yeah, they've been making this for a point for a while now. Is they want these patches to drop at a regular rate, regular timing, regular cadence. So it seems like they've really settled into this 8-week patch cycle.
Patches every 11 weeks apart, like clockwork. And the actual expansion was, for the most part, a major success, with many fans regarding it as one of their favorite experiences, especially by just how sheer popularity it had during Legion Remix, with so many players diving back into a fan favorite expansion. But if we were to take a look at some of the more recent expansions where it looks like they've started to get some more stable footing and consistency when it comes to the patch cycles, look no further than the last expansion of the War Within, where they seem to—
Yeah, Doc in chat says it's too fast and buggy. Look, I do think a lot of people would prefer them to like, hey, make it 10 weeks but no bugs. The problem is, I think a lot of people also think, well, if they had 10 weeks, there'd still be bugs. Like they're just not gonna fix the problems. Like the most recent one that we had, remember with the bonus rolls, where they didn't know the servers. I don't know how they didn't know this, but the test server only has like one, I guess, database to pull from, but then the real servers have multiple, so it wasn't saving properly or something like that. They would have never figured that out if it was a 20-week patch cycle. They weren't gonna fit. They didn't know. They just didn't know what they didn't know. They were just going to release this thing. So that problem still would have been a problem. Maybe there's some other things they could catch if they had more time. But I just think that they're not testing in depth enough. Maybe it's not the time that they have. It's just the depth at which they're testing that's not enough. So I don't know if adding more time would help. But I definitely think if that was a choice, buggy patch every 8 weeks or fixed patch every 10 weeks, people would take the 10-week cycle.
To regain that consistency with some of the slight changes for the cycle, but for the most part, it was really close together. You had a much stricter calendar for the actual updates, testing about an 8 to 10 week windows between each and every single update based on the content we've already got to experience just the last expansion. It did mean that they ended up cutting off like the 4th season that most expansions usually get out completely, but it instead had a fantastic and very solid 3 seasons that flowed into Midnight without really skipping a beat, which likely means Midnight will be doing very similar thing based on a couple of patches that we have so far, but also some of these speculated release dates.
Right. Yeah, I think we're gonna stick with the 3 seasons. I think the 3 seasons of content is the way they're gonna keep going forward. I don't think we're gonna get any more of those what were they, Reborn or Revisited? I forgot what they call them. The raids like in Shadowlands where they up the item level and difficulty of all the raids, and then you could go in and they were like reforging the raids or something. I forget what they called it. But yeah, Faded, yes. Faded raids, yes. That's not going to be a thing anymore. That was like a content filler. It was kind of fun. We did get the slime cat mount out of it. But this is going to be, I think, a 3 raid, or basically not more than 3 raids now, the way they're doing it, but 3 season cycle.
Take a look at those Midnight specific dates, both the release ones and the speculated ones. It looks like Midnight as an expansion is scheduled to mirror the pipeline, but with even a tighter schedule than War Within. Look at that 8-week cycles with the 24-week seasonal cycle based on some of the recent updates of this expansion so far, which for now remains incomplete data, but this is a trend that we've seen this expansion go into as of this moment. Midnight launch was about on March 3rd, seasonal content shortly after a leveling period. About 7 weeks later, 1205 drop, and based on new dates, 1207 will likely be 8 weeks stat. 8 weeks after should land on about August 11th, which would be past part of the shortened schedule of turbulent timeways, which will likely mean that that's when the patch 12.2 or 12.1 rather, season 2 content is likely going to be releasing. So it looks like Midnight itself, at least for now, is gearing for about an 8-week cycle.
And that makes sense, by the way. Isn't BlizzCon in September? I think BlizzCon is in September this year. So, I mean, they would want the season to have been out for like a month by the time BlizzCon hits. They don't want to drop a season and then have like BlizzCon 2 days later or something. That'd be a disaster because you got everyone in your company paying attention to BlizzCon, and at the same time they're going to be fixing a new patch release because fixes will be needed. Right, fixes will be needed.
When it comes to its updates. So as long as the conveyor belt of
Why not?
content
They've done it
keeps
before.
up,
Yes, but I think they prefer not to do that. They'd rather have a gap of time between new season launching and BlizzCon happening.
on chugging along flawlessly, we could probably expect something new every 8 weeks in Midnight, meaning that we have essentially the release dates for every single major patch from this expansion's roadmap.
And there you go. Based on the roadmap, it has to drop before BlizzCon too. So this date makes sense.
Not that long ago. Patch 12.1, Season 2 content likely dropping based on the content cycle, August 11th. New season, which means a big meta update. New zone, which we got to preview over on this channel. Fresh dungeons, delves, raid, PvP content, prey updates, a bunch of new rewards for you to collect, but also more system updates regarding housing that is planned as well. Patch 12.15, the mid-season content update for Season 2, likely dropping October 6th, not that far away from my birthday, in fact. Labyrinth Delve mode is going to be one of its biggest draws, so if you're a big fan of the Delve exploration and wanted something major,
so
like
a
mega Delve,
thing?
that's essentially what that is planned to be. Apparently, there's going to be a new raid as part of 12.05, which is going to be a little faster than what we're getting with 12.07, but also more evergreen systems, with patch 12.17 and a Season 2 content likely dropping December 1st. New standalone mode apparently is going to be part of this update, so if you like things like Plunderstorm or remix modes, some new way for you to be able to experience World of Warcraft.
I wonder, did they say if it's PvP or not? Is this going to be maybe like a new Plunderstorm style event? Where it's like, you know, PvPing out in this weird thing and playing some kind of game mode or something. You guys know I miss Plunderstorm. I want that shit to come back. I wish it was part of just a regular cycle of PvP content we could do, because that was fun ass shit. It was.
For now, Blizzard has been pretty tight-lipped on what this mode is going to be, but it's meant to be some sort of a spooky, new, almost Drustvar-themed mode, so it'll be fun to see exactly
what they come up with. Could be a Halloween release, like we said.
I'm guessing it's some kind of like a survival minigame with some spooky elements of sorts. There's also going to be apparently story chapters for new quest campaigns, as well as a holiday refresher. Based on this content cycle, patch 12.2 Season 3 content likely dropping January 26th. Yet another meta reset, new seasonal content, and new seasonal rewards. With the patch 12.25 and 12.27, the expansion finale updates likely to be in late March and mid-May for either one of those two updates.
So that Season 3 he's talking about now? Yeah, 12.2.
Which is going to likely feature side content and housing stuff, but they'll likely reveal what that content is going to be with BlizzCon, because that's apparently happening in September, so that's actually not that far away from now. So it seems like even though Blizzard has not themselves revealed any of the future dates or any future updates for Midnight as an expansion, or exactly how long this expansion is going to be, based on the 3 seasonal model of War Within and the 8 patch cycle or 8-week cycle that we were likely to have here, we pretty much know exactly when every single major and minor update of Midnight likely is going to be, launch too, based on some of the shifted dates thanks to patch 12.07 PTR. So if you're planning your raiding schedule for the future, your all progression moments, you know, events like Turbulent Time Waits to catch up all of your characters, or if you're just looking to book a vacation, you pretty much got a mathematical blueprint to map out your entire year and how much time you're going to be spending in Azeroth for some of those major content updates. That being said, as long as the content machine keeps on working without breaking down. We've had expansions in the past like Warlords General and Shadowlands that have disastrously crashed, especially pretty early into the expansion, and kind of try to claw their way out into the next content update as soon as possible. So as long as Midnight doesn't waver, this likely means that Midnight is going to be very, very consistent, and that also speaks for future consistency of the World Soul Saga, because after Midnight, we do still have one more Titan-themed expansion to follow, and if Midnight is able to maintain this pacing without the blunders like patch 12.05 issues that have launched, we're likely looking at a very, very stable content release cycle.
Right. Yeah,
with that being said, as always, I want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy this update. If you did enjoy this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like, as I would very, very much appreciate it. Be sure to join our Discord community. Link to that is in the description of every single video we put up on the channel. Probably the best way so you can
good dates, nice video
updates, as well as future content updates.
I want to contemplate when the release for The Last Titan would be, though. When did he say 12.2
is going to be, based on some of the shifted dates thanks to patch 12.07 PTR. So if you're planning your raiding schedule for the has not themselves revealed
when did he say? I want to hear it.
They come up with. I'm guessing it's some kind of like a survival minigame with some spooky elements of sorts.
Yeah.
They're also going to be apparently 12.2 Season 3 content likely dropping January 26th. Yet another
January 26th is when he thinks Season 2 content would drop. That would be the release, and then so that would be 8 weeks from there. 8 weeks from there would put us at, I'm looking at a calendar right now, 8 weeks from there. I'm just trying to figure out when this shit would happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would put us at February 2nd for 12.2.5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 12.2.7 would drop April 27th. And then if you go 8 weeks from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would put us at June 22nd. So that would put us at June 22nd for the final patch of this expansion 8 weeks from that date. End of expansion patches, usually 10 to 12 weeks. Well, what I was about to say is you got 8 weeks, and then typically you got like a little bit of pre-patch, or not necessarily pre-patch, but like post, like there's that lead-in content that kind of drifts into the next expansion. So if you add another 2 weeks onto that, making this like 10 weeks, 1, 2, you end up in July. Whether it's 2 weeks or another 2 weeks or another 4 weeks from there, you end up in July. So we could have a July Last Titan release date. Basically, we're a little bit over a year away, which kind of makes sense. I mean, they said they want these expansions to last 2 years. What was the release date for Midnight? What was the release date for Midnight? I forgot. When the hell did it happen? Was it in August? Midnight release date. When did that happen? March. What the fuck am I talking about? March 2nd. Midnight release date. World of Warcraft Midnight officially launched on March 2nd. I'm trying to think. March, April. I guess we got July. I still think it would happen around then. Beginning of March, yeah. July, August, July. Yeah, probably. I guess it'd be like an end of summer or something. Release date. They can't drag it on too long, though, so it'd have to be like July timing. We'll see. But anyways, I mean,
the meta reset,
crazy shit
both future
in terms of when this is going to happen.
All the other major
and you could really
patches.
plan it all out.
Let me know
the way
your
it's going.
thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next
3
one.
days earlier, we had the early release access time for Midnight, if you remember. So that's why you're thinking that, probably. But yeah, I mean, it all lines up pretty well, and it all the way Blizzard's been going with the 8-week patch cycles is, yeah, you can basically tell when things are going to happen going forward. So nice stuff overall. Also, we'd have like technically pre-patch and all that other stuff dropping. So you could end up in August. Yeah. So on March 2nd, 2026, players who purchased the Epic Edition at 3-day early access February 2026. Okay, so that's what it was. Yeah. So it's not too far. Not too far. I mean, it's pretty close. Sam needs a book. No, I'm trying to just figure it out because, yes, you can use the cadences of when they're dropping shit to really figure out what's going to happen in the future. But nice thing overall here from Dalaran Gaming. Interesting stuff for sure. We'll see if all this actually lines up with what we've been predicting here.